You're listening to the AdCast with your host, Eric Elliott.
You know what? The world cannot keep us apart, Fred. How about
Yeah,
that?
a little bit of difficulties this morning.
Uh, they cannot keep us apart. If that means anything, that means you and I are gonna have one hell of an
Good.
episode
That's good.
today. So, ladies and gentlemen, everyone listening, I want you guys to, if you could, stand on your feet, or if you're in your car, slap the steering wheel, because I have a legend on the line with me today. And his name is Mr. Fred Cary. I mean, talking about an impressive resume in business, someone who has had multiple companies and even took some companies private, and doing business up to $1 billion. That's with a B, not an M. That's a B. So, when it comes to business and entrepreneurs and ideas, I have Mr. Idea on the line himself, and Mr. Entrepreneur himself, Mr. Mr. Fred Cary of IdeaPros. Fred, thank you for being with us today on the AdCast, man.
Well,
Thank you.
it's a real pleasure to be here. And, our half-hour stint here of trying to get things working right is really the perseverance that you need with entrepreneurship. So I think it's a good to
There
this
you go.
session.
And you know what, though? We didn't sweat. Not at all. We didn't sweat at all. We just figured it out. And what did we do? We stopped what we were doing and we started
That's
it
right.
over. What kind of a lesson is that, right? And so, I mean, how did I talked a little bit about your resume, Fred, and I couldn't sum up everything you've done in your career and the time that we have on this show. But I mean, tell the audience a little bit about you from your point of view, who you are and what you do.
Yeah. They say you spend the first half of your career building up your resume and the second half building up your eulogy. And
Wow.
I'm in that second half of my career. At 72, I've recently promised my kids I'd retire by the time I hit 90. And that it's all really all about giving back. The blessing you get in life as you start becoming more of a whole person and realizing that there's taking care of yourself is important, but taking care of those around you is even more important. I think that that's the most important thing I can say about me is all my all my triumphs and victories and defeats, everything is secondary to the fact that right now I'm in a place where I feel I can help a lot of people, and that's my mission in life right now.
You remember the old Zig Ziglar saying? I remember going to a conference, when he was on his last leg of doing shows and touring. One of the things that he said was, "You help enough people get what they want, and you'll get what you want."
Absolutely. Everybody talks about karma and all these things as if they're mystical, but the reality is, think about this: the more you spread positivity around you, the more that people know that if they have an issue, they can depend on you. The more those people are going to come back to you and appreciate you and do good things for you as well. It's not mystical; it's common sense that do good and good come back to you.
Now, you said a couple seconds ago, you said you spend the first part of your life building your resume and the last part building of your eulogy, but it doesn't seem like you're slowing down anytime soon. And I think you might break that promise by retiring at 90 from what I'm seeing
Yeah.
from you. But I mean, is that much? I mean, tell me what's needed today for entrepreneurs. And then I want to go into everything with Idea Pros, and I want to talk to you as much as possible today, man.
Well, look, if you're an entrepreneur, the first thing you have to realize is all entrepreneurs have two traits in common. We're all crazy and we're all losers. And I'm going to tell you what I mean by
Wow.
that. We're crazy because that's what everybody tells us, right? A perfectly good 40-hour-a-week job. We're getting our paychecks regularly. And you want to leave that to go work for 100 hours with no pay. And everybody you know tells you you're crazy. What are you doing? Stick with your job. You're going to have a great career. You're fine. And then you're losers. We're all losers because we never get it right the first time. We're creating something that doesn't exist. How could you possibly do it right in one time? So if you can embrace the fact that everybody's going to think you're nuts and you're not going to win the first time around, then you can be a really great entrepreneur, because then failure becomes a temporary step towards success. In your craziness, is what allows you to get out of your comfort zone, because only out there, that's where changes happen. That's where new things happen in the world. The crazies are the ones that make the world go awry.
That's true. It's usually not the people in your building that need you, but the ones that are outside that
Exactly.
need you. And you hit on so many different points there. You said about, either you're crazy or losers, but I mean, isn't it that, the losing makes you a better entrepreneur?
Yeah, it's a necessary component of it. And by the way, that never ends. I mean, you don't. Everybody is looking for, like, what do I need to become successful? And if you're
Hmm.
measuring success by your corporate victories, it's fleeting. You're successful, and then all of a sudden, the enemy, your competitors, are marching up behind you, and you're constantly having to change your course and change offerings and
Hmm.
change the way you think and change your advertising and marketing techniques. They all have to be changing all the time, because you're winning, you're losing, you're winning, you're losing. You just have to win more than you.
I had said something. There's two things I want to bring up, because everything that you're saying now is just so relevant to the way that it's just so relevant, and it's actually timely because I started thinking about these things, and our team just came off of a year end meeting where we were discussing some of these points, and there were two things that I said. One, I said I'm going to personally unfollow my competitors, because it wasn't that I was jealous of them or had any malice towards them. It was I would confuse my own thoughts. It's almost like if you're recording an album, I don't want to listen to my favorite artist because whatever I produce or whatever comes out of me is going to sound just like theirs. You know, I don't want it to be like theirs. So I wanted to just unfollow them. And I told some of them who were good friends, like, I love you, but I'm not going to comment on your stuff. And I may unfollow you or I may block you, but it's for my own good, you know?
Yeah, get away from the
Uh,
noise.
yeah, gotta get away from the noise. You have to. And, when did you develop this learning, of your losses? When did you develop all this?
You know, when you first start out as an entrepreneur, you're doing all the worst things you could possibly do. You're creating
Mhm.
something because you think it's a great idea. Your research amounts going to your mom and getting her advice. Oh yes, and I do that. Yeah, you $1 million,
Yeah.
and you are very myopically focused on yourself. Me, as
Mhm.
we talked about before the show.
Mhm.
Um, and that's a
Mhm.
losing proposition. A real good entrepreneur focuses on the world they want to serve, and has the ability to forget about whether they think it's a great idea or not, but vet the public that you're going to be selling to and see what they think, and create things for that public. I think that's the big transition point that I got after my
Mhm.
first couple of entrepreneurial experiences. I finally started really researching what people needed and making sure that I had solutions that filled that need in a very robust way, so I could have those people not just be my customers, but become loyal
Mm.
advocates of my brand. So they would spread the word because what I was offering was so in sync with what they wanted. And that's a learning curve that will change your life as an entrepreneur when you get that figured out.
Yeah, and there was multiple companies that you worked on, some private and some public. I mean, tell me about some of the things as an entrepreneur that you went through or things that you had to learn through to get to where you are today.
Yeah. Well, constant fires. I mean, and by the way, where I am today is the most fires of all, because I have 400 companies under me that I am
Wow.
mentoring and partners with. We have 30% ownership of each of those 400 companies that are just starting out. And so we have fires going
Mhm.
on every half hour. Uh, so
Mhm.
it's worse than ever from the fire standpoint. But the thing that I really had to learn is to be comfortable with the ambiguity, to be comfortable with the fact
Mm.
that you don't know what's coming at you around a corner. If you can embrace the fact that you're on this never-ending mission that is going to have surprises, both good and bad, and that you're going to deal with them however they come, that's the experience I got from multiple companies. Every single company I ever had, and I have about an 80% success rate, which is crazy. Uh, but
Wow.
everyone I've ever had I had really great, good lessons and really great bad lessons every time. Never did anything go smoothly ever.
It's like you have to be comfortable being
Yeah.
uncomfortable
Yeah.
in a
Yeah.
way,
Go ahead. Torture me. I can take it.
Yeah, so one of the things when we were preparing to talk today, one of the things I remember hearing you saying is like an entrepreneur must find their purpose, is what you said. Tell me what you mean by that, because there's someone who's going to be listening to this right now and they're going to second guess themselves and say, I had 2 bad years. Should I get out of this thing now? I mean, why am I doing it? Talk to me about
Yeah.
that.
So let me tell you this. I'm 72. A moment ago, I was 30. It happens that
Wow.
fast. And as you guys are getting older, you can see, wow, this year seems to be faster than the year before, right?
Yes.
And faster and faster.
Yes.
And all of a sudden you wake up and you're 70 years old. Um, what have you done with your life at that point? And if you don't align what you're doing with what you feel passionate about, hence your purpose, then you're going to have wasted your entire life. And it happens like that.
Mhm.
So why not get in touch with the things that you're really passionate about, the things that really turn you
Hmm.
on as a human being, things that you think you can do really well? Find a way to coordinate those things with the business that you want to have. Find a way to take your purpose, your passion, and make it something that you're making a living on. And if you can do that,
Mhm.
then you don't have to worry about work-life balance, because it's all life at that point, and you have an amazing life. If you can wake up in the morning, put your feet down on the side of the bed and smile, you're on the right
Yeah.
path. That's success. Being able to smile in the morning. It's not what you have in your bank account. It's not how many
Mhm.
employees you have. It's your ability to wake up in the morning and smile, knowing that you have another day to get to what you're passionate about.
There's no rule book. It's almost like parenting. When you become a parent, there's not like a stork that delivers the baby and says, "Here's a book on how to raise that kid." And when you have a business, there's no guru that you can, or genie you can rub a lamp on to and say, "Teach me and tell me everything." Because if that were the case, everyone would be an
Yeah.
entrepreneur. All right. And so I want to know this. Can anyone be an entrepreneur? Does everyone have the guts for it?
No, well, nobody can. And by the way, I do have it. Maybe at the end we can talk about. I do have video courses that will tell every single entrepreneur what they need to do.
Ooh, I
I,
wanna bring
I
that
got,
up.
I
Yeah.
got. In the last 2 years, I've had 100,000 applications from entrepreneurs that work with me, and we've taken 400 because my flagship product is like all in. You have an idea, we're going to create
Mm,
a nationwide company with its first launch within a year. Um,
mhm,
but a lot of people can't afford that, and so I created this to really teach every entrepreneur how to get in touch with their purpose and align with that. But even so, no, not everybody can be an entrepreneur, but those of you that
wow.
can be are those that are mostly, I think about entrepreneurs kind of like outsiders, that you were just, you never quite fit the norm. You're always like, everybody's in line and marching, and you're over here drawing something in the corner, and the teacher's yelling at you because you're not paying attention in class. Meanwhile, you're designing an anti-missile system in fourth grade. And if you're a bit of an outsider, if you're a risk taker, if you
Mhm,
don't really fit, then you have a real good possibility of being an entrepreneur, because you've always had to make
mhm.
up that difference between you and the rest of the world all your life. So that's you. Stick with it. You can do it.
Now you've already said earlier that you got, like, over 400 companies under you. You take a lot of applicants and you don't let everyone in. But, I had a conversation with a good friend and a client partner of ours, and he said the one thing that he would tell everyone is to have a mentor. But then there are some that feel like, "Oh, I can learn everything on YouTube." They want that speed to success. I mean, what do you think about, people having mentors, as they're coming up in business?
When cryptocurrency first started doing its second rebound, I have a lot of my friends are much, much younger than me, because friends my age are dead. But they
Yeah.
were all like, the world's different now. Things are changing. This is the whole new world. And I'm just like, you're going to lose your ass. And most of
Mm.
them lost almost everything. I mean, even guys that made a couple $1 million temporarily, all of a sudden it was worth $2,000. So
Wow.
you need mentors, not because mentors are necessarily wiser than you, because mentors have been slapped around the head and body the same way you're going to be. And if they
Hmm.
okay, wow, this guy or this woman has done what I want to do. Why not take advantage of that? I think everybody needs a
Yeah.
mentor. And frankly, that's one of the things that was missing from my life that I would have really loved to have had. Even my dad was not really a good role model. He taught me a lot of things not to do, which is very powerful as
Hmm.
well. But having a role model, having a mentor, having someone you can rely on is critically important. And the second thing is when you talked about everybody just wants to go on YouTube and learn how to do it, get it done, and be success.
Yeah.
We want to do like a decade worth of stuff in a year, and it's not going to happen,
Yes.
guys.
Oh
Not
my
going to
gosh.
happen. You can do a lot in a year if you have a 10-year plan. You can do 1/10 of what you need to do, but you can't do it all in 1 year, and that's why we get frustrated. That's why, to your point, people that have been 2 years at losses and everything, they want to give up. Don't give up. Change what you're doing. Just like we had to change our environment. I was going to be with this
Which
thing. We can't do that anymore. I was
right.
going to be wearing these headphones. I can't do that anymore. Change it up
Right.
when you need to, and you'll find a solution.
Man, go into that for me because I think that's needed. People need to hear that now, about them trying to do 10 years worth of things within 1 year. And it's funny you said that because like you and I were connecting on social now, and like one of the things that I put out a video talking about the speed to success is some of these people that are trying to do these things in 10 years, these 10-year things in 1 year, they don't know how to handle trouble when it comes
Yeah,
their way.
because you're really betting on luck when you do that, right? You're betting on everything working perfectly and everything exceeding what you really internally believe you can do. And the
Hmm.
chances of that happening is very, very minimal. And that's an exaggeration. It's less than very minimal. So
Hmm.
what happens when you do that, you end up doing a couple of things. Number one, you're measuring your success on the basis of finances, which is the worst thing you can measure your
Mm.
success on. If you look at a lot of billionaires out there, that some of them gone
Hmm.
bankrupt 2, 3, 4 times. People have lost $100
Yeah.
million overnight. So you can't measure your success on things like that. And when you're doing that
Mhm.
squashed little success plan, that's what it's all based about. Instead, you got to find what makes you happy and start doing that. There are people that are way happier than most people listening who are not making very much money. And they're really, really
Yeah.
happy because they're doing what they want to do. And they wake up every morning and they would do it for free. They're getting paid to do it. You can't get happier than that.
Yeah. There's a guy, an influencer, and he said he's got a lot of friends who make, millions of dollars a year and they're miserable. And then he has friends who make a few $100,000 a year and they're
Yeah.
happy,
Yeah.
you know? And I think, now let me ask you this, and there's going to be some people that are going to probably disagree with you and I on this. They use money as their motivator to be more successful. Is that right in your opinion, or is that wrong in your opinion?
If you use that as your measure of success, you're not going to be as successful as if you use happiness as your measure of success. And let me explain why. If you're doing what you
Mhm.
want to be doing, then you're obviously going to be more passionate. And when you're more passionate about what you're doing, you're going to affect more people. And when you affect more
Mhm.
people, a result is
Mm.
going to be the rewards that you receive. So the money that comes in is going to be the result of your behavior rather than that carrot that
Mhm.
you're chasing after. So even if you look at even
Wow.
some of the biggest companies in the world that are very um, purpose driven, you'll see that they have greater margins. They have more loyal audience. They bring more money to the bottom line because they're authentic in
Mm.
what they're doing. So authenticity and passion should be the things that you drive yourself with, and then the money will follow.
Like
Like
Apple.
Apple. And
Mhm.
Apple got near to being bankrupt. There's another
Yeah.
organization that really started failing miserably, and now, what are they, $2 trillion or something?
Yeah. One of the most valuable companies in the world is
Yeah.
what they are. I think you're right, about a trillion or
Yeah,
two.
a couple trillion. And let me take a step here, uh, because earlier when I was talking about the crazies and everything and being different and thinking outside the box, could you imagine 20, 30 years ago, this little skinny guy with a black outfit gets in front of a stage of 1,000 people and says, "Hey, I want to start this new computer company, and I want to compete against Microsoft, against IBM, against digital equipment, and all these other industrial names that were there, and I'll call my computer
Mhm.
company Apple." Do you think one of those 1,000 people in that audience would ever stand up and say, "That's a great name"? No, they would all think that was the worst name in
Mm.
the world. Now the Apple logo itself is worth hundreds of millions of dollars. Think outside the
Uh,
box, as they say. Yeah.
well, it's going back to what you said earlier. I think it makes so much sense. Is like, you said find your purpose. I think what helps them more than anyone else is they have a purpose. And now they've created things where now we walk around with their products, and it's become part of our lives. I don't have that with IBM. I don't have that with Hewlett Packard. I don't have that with Gateway Computers, which is come and gone, but Dell, but I think we could learn a lot from some of those people. But I think you're right. The first thing is kind of figuring out your purpose. And another thing that you said was your why. Your why are
Yeah.
you
And,
doing it?
and by the way, uh, there's my daughter's dog wants to join the show before she starts barking. Um, there is a reason that Apple is different and has that connection to you as an individual, and that because they start
Mhm,
with their why. Most computer companies are going to start talking to you about their products, um, and um, and tell you about, well, we have this product and it's really good and it does all these things, these features.
mhm,
Do you want to buy it? But Apple starts at the opposite end
wow,
of that. Apple starts with, we're different. Everything that we do with passion and purpose and commitment. We create things that we believe our audience really needs and really wants. And that's really
mhm,
our purpose as an organization. And oh, by the way, we also happen to sell computers. Do you want to buy one? It's at the end, after they've made that connection with you, then everything that they want to have and want to deliver, you're going to want to buy. If I told you today that I just heard that Apple's coming out with a new electric toothbrush tomorrow, which they're not, I don't believe they are. That would be awesome if they were, but they're not. But we would know immediately, without knowing anything about it, we would know that it'd be really sleek, it'd come in a few cool colors, you'd be able to access it remotely, it'd be able to give you information on how well you're brushing. It would, this next
yep,
level thing, right? And we don't know anything about what they're going to do. Their name, their pedigree, their brand is so into us that they've done this amazing job of their why. And that's what you need to do as an entrepreneur, as a marketer. You focus on the why part, and then the rest of it comes easy. That's the same as focusing on passion. Money comes after.
mhm. Well, I think if Tim Cook ends up listening to this episode, and the whole Apple toothbrush idea comes about, it came about
Yeah,
here on this show. Okay, so let's let them know that right
yeah.
now in
We want a little
advance.
piece of this. Both.
Uh, we want a piece of it. We talked about not being able to measure success, over money, but can you? And we talked about 10 years, trying to do 10 years in 1 year, but can you measure success as an entrepreneur in time? Should they do it in time?
um, I think you definitely need to give yourself that time runway to be able to get things done. And the way that
Hmm.
I instruct my audience, my members, my followers on Instagram, is I tell them to celebrate micro-victories. You can have this
Mm,
kind of longer term vision and set of goals that you want to accomplish. then find incremental ways to get towards those goals. Like a lot of the things I do, if I knew in advance it was going to take 2 years to accomplish something, or a year to do this other thing, or 5 years to do this third thing, I would never do that. But you're
Mm.
set. This is my goal. I need to get this stuff accomplished. But then after you figured it out, then look down. Don't look forward. Look down. What's the next step I'm taking? Have I taken that step? Because I know if I take that next step, I'm closer to what that goal is. So if you can make your long-term goals, then focus on the present moment and what you need to do today to get a little closer, then you can celebrate every night. I'm one step closer. I'm one step further. Pop the champagne.
Mm. What is the hardest thing that you've went through in your entrepreneurial career?
Well, there's been plenty. I would say one of the hardest ones was because it was one of the first ones, and it was a major learning experience. I'd started a company called Concerts America, and we produced concerts around the country, rock concerts.
Hmm.
And in my very first show, I had rented out in Miami the Coliseum there, the stadium outdoor concert.
Hmm.
We had 5 major bands coming. I had to pay every single one of those bands double because I was a 24-year-old kid that nobody ever heard of, and the only way I could get bands is walk in with
Wow.
little suitcases of money. You normally get 20,000, you can have 40. You only get 40, you can have 8. It's the only way they would work.
Yeah.
And so we had this all planned. We had it almost sold out. And that day, it rained 16 inches, which is double what we get in San Diego in a year. And there was a
Wow.
foot of water all over the grounds and heavy-duty electrical equipment everywhere. We had to cancel the show and do it the next afternoon. I was up all night long talking to all the radio stations, talking about the cancellation, the tickets are good for tomorrow afternoon, negotiating with the bands to get them to stay an extra day, having to pay even more money to the bands.
Oh
And
man.
so we had it the next afternoon, and we had a whole bunch of no-shows. I had to give tons of refunds. And back then, there was no computers, there was no internet. We were writing
No,
refund
no weather insurance,
exactly,
none of that
writing
stuff. Yep.
refund checks by hand. I think I lost about $60,000 in that first venture, and that's probably about $600,000 today. And that was
Hmm.
a big gut-wrenching experience for me. But it really taught me that if things can go wrong, they will go wrong. You better be
Yeah.
prepared for them. And so within 2 months, we got our next show going and started doing well after that. But that was gut-wrenching.
How did you overcome and how did you learn from that? Because there's an entrepreneur right now who is probably having either their best time and then there's someone else who's having their worst
Yeah,
time. And I want them to hear from people because I've struggled before too early on. And it's like, how did you get
yeah.
over at that? You talked about, that issue and it's 600 grand today, but how did you get over that?
Um, you have to be able to take these defeats and learn how to pivot from them, so you kind of analyze what happened. Uh, and for me, the analysis ended up pointing to the fact that maybe I was going too big too fast. Maybe I
Mm,
should go into smaller arenas, maybe find bands for 2,500 people instead of 40,000 people. Be indoors where it's safer and you can control the environment. And that's what I did. I pivoted. I went to smaller places, warm, cozy, fuzzy places with assigned seating, and was able to build it back up that way. So if you're going through that as an entrepreneur, uh, if you're going through the experience of things not working out the way you want them to, and you're waking up figuring out, the hell am I doing wrong? Stop.
yeah.
Start over. Get a clean sheet of paper and start writing down what are the obstacles that I have and how can I avoid those obstacles. Don't be afraid to pivot. That's been the key to several of my successes. They happened after I pivoted different companies that I had. Most companies that I started, I had to make major changes to be successful in the end.
And look at that. When you were 24, you started out doing this big giant concert, renting out a big stadium, and then that is almost like the equivalent of trying to go from 0 to 100 really
Exactly.
fast. And then you said, you know what, I'm going to slow it down, and you had these more intimate settings, and you became a lot more successful because you'd learned from the big
Yep.
mess up
Yep.
early on, and now you get it. So I mean, entrepreneurs, you heard it here. What you should do is just pivot. Sometimes it's like it's that important to write things down and do it over. And you bring up a good point, because you said write things down on paper. I watched a documentary once on Bill Gates, and one of the things that he does was he has like what you call a think week, where he goes away, he reads books, no computers really, and he's not focused on phones, computers. He's just writing and reading. Do you think every entrepreneur should do something like that?
Yeah, if you look at most of the most successful CEOs in the world, they all have one thing in common. They read. A lot of them read. And here's the deal with reading, guys and gals. You can go on the internet and you can be fed things and you don't even have to think. You're looking at it. For example, you're looking at us.
Wow.
You don't have to analyze anything. You don't have to think about anything. You're just taking it all in. When you're reading, you're using your imagination because it's just black and white on paper, and you have to create these scenarios in your head. You imagine the
Wow.
characters, the scenes, the things that are happening. So your brain is on fire, doing a lot more work when you're reading than when you're just passively watching Netflix or scrolling through your social media to see who's got the latest boob implant of your friends. Go deep and read something every single day.
No, I agree with you. I, I think that is, um, it's one of those things where I feel like you have to, even if you're not hungry, you have to feed yourself. And I think by feeding yourself, in my mind, it's like reading and continuing to study and learning how to be a professor of whatever you do. I try and encourage our team with that same thought and that mentality. Now, you are the CEO of a company called Lead Pros, and I want to talk about that
Well,
now, because
Idea Pros.
you Idea Pros.
Yeah.
Forgive me, Idea Pros, because there's some entrepreneurs that come to you and they're like, I got this great idea. What do I do with it? I mean, one, how do you figure out who you want to work with, and then what steps are you taking when you do this with
Yeah,
people?
and I've kind of done things opposite the way most people do, which is no shock to the audience. Now,
Mhm.
I really just started out with this what I call my flagship product, which is really expensive to work with me at that level, and we've had like 100,000 applications, and as I said, I've accepted 400 people, but the
Mhm.
reality is those are people that are really ready, set to go. They have capital.
Mhm.
They want somebody to sit there with them and build their idea into a successful business. And those people contribute $100,000, $200,000 to the effort, but they're doing about $1 million worth of stuff because my team,
Right, right. They're
and
serious.
we get the 30% equity typically in those. But I found that entrepreneurs, there's a whole lot of people that are entrepreneurs that that need something and can't afford something like that. So we have these things right now that, well, a bunch of stuff for free, right? Official Fred Cary on Instagram. I post twice a day on personal development, entrepreneurship, positive mindset, how to
Mhm.
take care of yourself. That stuff's all free. And IdeaPros.com on our blog page, the best information you could possibly find on entrepreneurship is all there, and it's all free. Every single element of what you
Mm.
want to know as an entrepreneur, that's all there for free. But we also have things like my video course on purpose-driven entrepreneurship. And you can find that on IdeaPros.com as well. It's a couple $100. In fact, if you use the code, I think it's IG100, it's $147. 15 videos
Mm.
tell you everything you need to know about entrepreneurship in a very personal, heartfelt way. I didn't take any notes, no bullet points, no nothing. I just started talking, and you'll see from there my experience. If you don't like it, write to me, Fred at IdeaPros.com. I'll give you your money back. It's not a money making thing for me. It's try to give back. And finally, for about $1,000, when you say that question, Fred, I think I got a really good idea. For about
Yeah.
$1,000, you can maybe save yourself a $500,000 by sending that idea into us, and we will completely vet it. We'll do global analysis, competitive analysis, market size, market growth, market opportunity, who your target customer should be, how to create a pitch deck to go out and take that good idea that now you have all this information on and go raise capital to have it mean
Hmm.
something. So very, very small investment to really, really set you on the right track. But again, tons of free stuff that you cheap ones out there that don't want to spend any money and be really successful. You can use all the free resources.
Well, how about protecting ideas? Because that's usually a lot of things, a lot of what some folks don't understand, like how to copyright and trademark the things. When you take on some of the larger clients that come with you, do you walk them through or help them with protecting their
Yeah,
ideas?
when we partner with somebody, we do everything from that competitive analysis to go-to-market strategies, naming, branding, positioning, engineering, or app development. If
Mhm.
it's an app, a website development, literally every single thing an entrepreneur would do, and we train them and have them be their own project manager, so that either at the end, a
Mm.
year, 18 months later, they're really, really sophisticated for a first-time entrepreneur. But one of those components in there deals with intellectual property protection. Yeah, but certainly trademark. In fact, I have a trademark for my tagline, which is "Fuck average, be legendary," and I got that trademarked. So that's pretty awesome. So
I love it,
we,
man.
we encourage that, and with patents, and let me say something about patents, because there's a lot of people waste a ton of money in that. You think you have this amazing idea and you don't want to talk to anybody. You want to go out and get a patent, and you go to a patent attorney, spend $15,000, $20,000 to patent something that you don't even know if it can be manufactured. Number one. Number two, you don't know if it
Yeah,
can be manufactured at a cost that people will pay for it. Number, you don't even know
correct.
if anybody wants it. And so get all that
Hmm.
patent prep of get your idea to the point where you're ready for engineering, you know it can be engineered, and you've got an audience, you know people want it. At that point, you can go get yourself a patent.
Wow. Good, good advice. Good advice there, man.
Oh, let me
I
interrupt you just for a second, because this is a really cool fact. Out of all the patents ever issued by the U.S. Patent Office, 97% of them never got made. 97%.
Are you
Nope.
kidding
So
me?
don't waste your money, folks. Get your idea, make sure it's perfect and people want it, then get your patent. Be one of the three.
Wow. Wow. That's something I never knew, man. Something I never knew. You mentioned, your social platforms and everything else out there. How important do you think, social is to business and being an entrepreneur now?
It can be critically important and it can be damning, and it depends on who you're listening to. There are a whole bunch of guys out there with rented Ferraris standing in front of somebody else's mansion, talking to you about how they've made millions and millions and how you overnight can be
Yeah.
this big success. Get away from all that poison. Uh, but there's
Yeah.
other people out there that will tell you it's a hard journey, and there's a lot of failures, and failure is normal because it's a temporary situation that you're in on your way to becoming successful. If you find people like
Hmm.
that, and I happen to be one of them, not to plug
Mm.
myself, but you got to find people that are real and people that have experience, and not just somebody who's just been a guru all their life. Find people that have done it, who've been in the is where you are
Yeah.
now, who have had to
Yes.
dig through fire to get to where they are. There's a whole lot of people that are motivational speakers, but that's all they've ever been in their life. But how are you gonna? What did you learn to motivate me? Find people
Yeah.
that have the real experience that you can look at as a mentor, even from far away.
No, I truly believe so. I think sometimes the best officers are the ones who are soldiers
Absolutely.
first. That they totally get it. No, I agree with you, and I you're seeing a lot of that now on YouTube. Every time you turn on YouTube, there's some guy telling you how he made $1 trillion, and like you said, in front of a rented Ferrari that he's not driving, he's just standing in front of it. All you can do is pull out your phone in front of someone's
Yeah.
Ferrari and do that. So you're totally right, and I do think people need to avoid some of those, people. And like I told you earlier, I made it a point to say I'm going to
Yeah.
unfollow competitors. Nothing against them. I just want a clear head and a clear path of whatever victory that I see as victory or
Yeah.
success. So
Yeah.
that's me. So, man, I want to be able to pick your brain, but I don't want you to send me a big invoice. So I think I'm really happy that we got together. We had a little bit of difficulty in the beginning connecting, but I think it's all worth it. But I want to ask you some questions as we begin to close out. And these are I got a few questions here. Um, what do you believe that a person who wants to be an entrepreneur that they should do first? When someone says, "I want to, I want to open my own business doing XYZ," what should they do first?
This is my theory about life. Entrepreneurship, if you do it right, affects every single aspect of your life. When you want to be an entrepreneur, you look towards business. And when you want to be a successful entrepreneur, you say,
Mhm.
I don't care what comes at me. I don't care what fires hit me. I don't care what disappointments I have. I don't care how many times I run into that brick wall. I'm going to run faster. I'm going to jump higher. I'm going to do more to be successful. But we don't do that in our life at home. My wife
Yeah.
is nagging me all the time. My
Wow.
husband's an asshole. He thinks about his work. I have this going on. I have that going on. And we want to be kind of normal in our regular life and entrepreneurs in our business life. So the first step for anybody who wants to be an entrepreneur, kick ass at home. Be the best dad, mom,
Damn.
be the best husband, wife, boyfriend, girlfriend. Be nice to your dogs that are barking in the background. Be good with your neighbors. Be a good person. Start
Yeah.
focusing on being a better person, because you can't have a great company without being a great leader, and you can't be a great leader without being a great person. You can't be a great person without starting at home. And so that's what I would tell anybody that wants to be an entrepreneur. Look at your personal life. What are you doing? Are you doing enough there? If not, start changing who you are, and then you're going to have that fuel that's going to enable you to be a successful entrepreneur when you're ready to pull that trigger.
Love that. Love that. Love that. I absolutely love that. And I want to ask you this. We talked about the video courses. I mean, what are three big things or three big takeaways that you think people would get from your video courses?
The biggest thing that's in every one of those 15 segments is to be leading with purpose, to be always doing the right thing, to taking the difficult situations that you're going to find yourself in and finding the true path out, which leads
Mhm.
with integrity, with ethics, with empathy. That's going to permeate through every single one of those modules. But that's kind of the foundation. On top of that, you're going to learn literally why the biggest reason the companies fail every year is because people have created something that nobody wants. Well, why
Yeah.
you can be getting all these orders in and lose your ass because your cash flow can't keep up with your success. Basically how to fundamentally understand every element it takes to become a great leader from that nucleus of starting out as a solo entrepreneur. Literally, I believe, and I've had partners who've paid me $150,000, $200,000, go take this $100 course, $147 course, and tell me, in spite of the fact that they work with me on a monthly basis, tell me, this has changed my life. This has changed the way I look at
Yeah.
things. And that's what I believe you're going to get out of it. And again, if somebody takes that course and then doesn't feel they've gotten anything out of it, just write to Fred at IdeaPros. I'm happy to send you $147 back.
Damn, that man is putting his money where his mouth is. How about that? Now, and earlier you said that entrepreneurs should read. Now, Fred, give me a book recommendation and then why that you feel every entrepreneur should
So
read.
I'm going to give you a book recommendation that no other entrepreneur in the history of the world will ever give you. And that book is The Prophet by Khalil Gibran. And he is an Arabic scholar, speaker, and he writes about everything about life, about love, about marriage, about children, about doing the right thing. And it's really, really poetic and very, very powerful, very impactful. Has nothing to do with business, but has everything to do with becoming a better person and understanding that if you're going to do something, you have to be prepared and eager to accept the wounds that are going to come at you, because if you're going to do something right, you're going to be reaching to your furthest extreme. And when you reach that far, there are going to be failures, there's going to be wounds, and you're going to make it through and be a better person because of it. That's one I would recommend.
Man, that's some good stuff, man. I want you to tell these folks how to find you. I want the Instagram handles, the Facebook page. I want all of it. Tell them how to find you. And we'll put some links inside on a YouTube channel about how they can get directly to your course. I don't know if there's any special codes that you want to put out there, but definitely we'll deliver those to people as well. But tell them how to find you, Fred.
So on Instagram, go to official Fred Cary, Cary. And follow me. By the way, if you DM me there, I get about 500 DMs a day, and I answer all of them. I actually have a team of a couple of people helping me sort through some of the ones that are, well, not so
bullshit.
Yeah, not that. And I'll answer your DM. So official Fred Cary. On Facebook, we have IdeaPros, facebook.com/IdeaPros. I have a weekly live show there on Fridays, and we have other content there. We're just starting our YouTube channel, but you can also go to www.ideapros.com and look at what we have there, learn more about us all. Go to the blog page. I really encourage you, because it's robust, it's indexed, and it has literally everything that you need to know as an entrepreneur.
Man, Fred, I mean, it's great talking to you, man. I told you, man, it was going to be a great conversation. We had a hiccup in the beginning, but what did we do? We did what entrepreneurs did. We actually waited it out, and we found another way to make it work, is what we did. So I'm proud of you and us. That's our first task, man. Shit, we did that together, Fred.
It's been really, really, really good. And I hope your audience can get some value out of this, because I'm very passionate. In closing, I made it a goal a few years ago to change 1,000 lives. And I recently raised that to 10,000, because I have over 500,000 people on Instagram and alone, and I'm getting a ton of interaction, a ton of life changing. But I want to change 10,000 lives in the hopes that they in turn will change 1,000, and then that next generation will change 100. And if I can accomplish that, that's 1 billion people. And that's a lofty goal, but I can do my part. Just the rest of you got to do yours too. Give back, and you'll get more.
Damn, love it, man. I want to thank you for being an amazing guest today, Fred. And I want to also thank our listeners for giving us their most valuable asset, which is their time. It's the one thing they can never buy back, regardless of how much money that they have. And also want to remind you guys that you can listen to this podcast anywhere. You can also watch it on YouTube, or go to my website, ericelliott.com. You can go there, listen to this podcast, wherever you listen to your favorite podcast, and do yourself a favor and go find Mr. Fred Cary and get those assets. They're not expensive, but you get a lot of value out of those.
That's
right, Fred?
I'll be waiting for you.
All right. Awesome. Thank you, man. And this is the AdCast. Hey guys, I'm back. I hope that you enjoyed that episode of the AdCast. If you didn't, go online, give me a review, and tell me how you want us to make it better for you. And if you did, give us a 5-star rating anywhere that you listen to your favorite podcast. But I want to thank you for your most valuable asset. That's your time, and thank you for listening. Enjoy the AdCast, and stay tuned for another hot episode coming up soon.